Okay, hey everybody, Bridgerlyn Dolgoff. Anyway, has to be a quick video. Sorry, my hair is like a nest. All right, so I want to talk about something, and I've been gearing up for it. And I've talked about this on shows that I've been on, but I wanted to actually talk about it on a video. And so it's a pretty intense subject for me. And it's the only thing that really can trigger me and upset me, right? And that's because I feel that someone used me as a program system to run an application. And out of everything on this planet, it would be the one thing that would really upset me the most. Right. So, just as the type of being I am and how I feel about living things, especially trees and animals and birds. And I have in my shed that, I'm in and that I've been sleeping in because it's pretty cold outside. And so, the birds are living in the roof because it's partially heated in here. So I hear them when they wake up in the morning. So even though it's dark in here, I can't see anything. I can't tell, if it's morning time or not. I know because I can hear the birds like shuffling around in there and kind of waking up and congregating, and they talk to each other, and then, they'll start flying out. Then they fly out a hole like right above the door over there. So all day long, I put out a bowl of water out there. They're constantly like helping me to move energy, and they're changing things, and, through getting water and congregating, and all of them kind of living up there on the roof. I mean, there's like a whole family up there, probably like 20 birds, little birds, finches. So the whole thing about nature and living beings, even though I know that they came here and to participate with the original systems so that we could all work together and, create a vast library. But that's just been so waylaid so long ago, and so much other bull honky's been placed on top of it all. So I want to talk about the red plague. And like I said, it may be the one thing that I get like super emotional over, because I'm still trying to find other people who are programmed with it. And so this is after I came here, right? So this is after I came here, right? So my dad had been in World War II. He was super aware of everything going on. He had bad post-traumatic stress disorder, but he should have the things that happened to him. And he was like, even though he was only a private, he was like one of the highly decorated snipers, not that proud of that he was a sniper. And he was a really Renaissance person. He was a really loving, kind person. And so, this kind of stuff could have been really, really, bad that they make, people in the military do, because there are some men that are just soft and tender, and that's their job. They're protectors of the things that need to be protected through the soft and tenderness, right? They're the advocates of those beings. And you change them, and those beings lose that, which is totally effed up. So there was a lot of crazy stuff. My mom was had her, everything about her fried out of her in a mental hospital. I've talked about that a little bit on some of my videos, and what happened to her. Just like my real dad was majorly handled. And through NASA and the programs, and they try to get him to remote view or whatever else. And so I get like triple whammy, I got a mother who comes from a bloodline. I've got a father, real father, who comes from a bloodline. And then I have star lineage, direct here. And then also I have these bloodlines. So it was tough. I had a tough childhood just trying to, act normal. So my dad was constantly trying to move us around because there's always like all kinds of trouble. And I think my mom, would get really, really triggered because of whatever they triggered in her. So we always like moved a lot. I mean, a lot. And at one point, I think my dad was running from my mom's controller. I don't know. But what would happen is my mom would throw like a big, program, and then the dad who raised me, and they would have like a huge meltdown. And my mom would pack everything up and leave and go somewhere. And then he would come in and check on us because, my mom would work or whatever, and we would be left alone. Even though I was pretty tough. And then he would find us again, and then he would, either come get us and take us to where he was living, or certain times of the day where he had, time. Because my mom, was drinking pretty heavily, and then she'd spend the money, and, it was complicated. Too many programs running. So eventually, at one point, he moved us all the way up to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It was a really cool winter. There was tons of snow. We sledded right down a hill in our backyard, found this house for reasonable rent, and then was going to Coeur d'Alene Elementary School or something like that. And I was like in 5th grade. Remember, it was like 1979. Because of the music, right? It was like when my parents first started kind of buying me record albums. So I was really into the whole disco thing. And so he moved us up there. And this is where the Red Plague programming happened. And this is where I realized in my life that there's programmers and handlers and crazy secret little society things going on everywhere. So I started going to this school in Idaho. My dad moved us up there, and I think he was really trying to keep us isolated, I don't know exactly why, but I just know that it was going on. And we were really happy up there. But it was really hard for my parents to make a living up there because, we moved right up there before the winter, and the winter was pretty bad. And, a lot of times things were closed, so people didn't go to work and kids didn't go to school. And I mean, for me, it was perfect as a kid because stay home and sled. And I had a dog. This dog moved in with us, found us, and he'd follow me everywhere, and he'd wait for me at the bus stop. And so I had, it was a pretty good period. We also lived in a house that was haunted, kind of severely haunted. And me and my sister had an old concrete floor, and we had these old metal roller skates, and we would roller skate in the basement. And there was some really, really crazy stuff that went on in that place. And then it had this, anyway. So a lot of times we end up moving into houses that we get really cheap rent, which all of them were pretty much haunted to some extent and had really bad energy. So that's another thing that I had to deal with my whole childhood. And because my mom was a sensitive as well. And, it would just activate it, in a crazy way. So I would just see it all and have to deal with it all. So anyway, multiple layers of crazy, and more crazy. So sometimes I think, I'm surprised that this biological system has held together through all of that, because I know that there's walk-ins that walk in, and walk-ins are not souls. Okay, I just want to get that straight because a lot of people like to pretend like, that they're a walk-in, but they can still remember their life before. That's probably not going to happen because most of the real walk-ins, they are, most people who are saying they're walk-ins are possessed. Something possessed them. So there's still part of them in there with something else. Where true walk-ins, what is activating this uniform that's in the uniform is actually removed. There's a contract or agreement that is made to remove it so that another energy form can come in. And most of them have never had bodies and they've never been human. And a lot of them they consider themselves to be rays of light that come here to see what's going on in this program thing. And then they work on helping to assist the programming, But the bodies go crazy. They end up usually finding psychiatrists that deal with walk-ins so that they can get drugs because they have to medicate the body in order to get the work done because the body cannot handle them, right? So when I say I'm surprised that this uniform is handled so well, I think it's because of the bloodlines, and the medicines and the energy and, the abilities. And so I got that genetically. And I think that's the only reason my body's held together. And I really think because of my Russian line. My great grandmother was, and I just found out stuff about her on my dad's side. She was tough. I mean, she was Squatch. I mean, could have been like a descendant from a Sasquatch, but powerful woman for her time, and just would have been one of those Russian babushkas, freaking out in the middle of the wilderness, cutting down a tree by hand and then throwing the tree on her shoulder, and taking it into town at 90 years of age. So at least my Star family picked a really good body because this body has been through a lot and it survived. And sometimes I'm shocked at how that it has survived, right? So we moved to Idaho, and I'm going to this school. And there's a lot of weird things in this school, right? This public elementary school. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff. I mean, because I just remember, the whole experience being really weird. Like, having gone to all these different, schools in Nevada and then, going to Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, and going to the school. It was like the setup was strange. The interaction was strange. It seemed like there was more extracurricular activities than there was real education taking place, less reading and math. And then just the whole school would gather in an area for whatever activity it was. And so the school was like one building, and it was a circle, and each class had its own, front door and walls, but then it was open on the backside, and then there was a big circle area where you could go back and forth between the classes. And so just the whole arrangement was much different than I was used to. And, thinking back, I think it was an octagon too. And so, octagon is the pharaohs, right? It's that, the ones that are, physically dominant. And they're the ones that like to live underground, the more on the reptoid side, for sure. All right, so this was going to this school. So periodically, here it comes. So I'd been there maybe a month. And I got chosen kind of for some reason or for something. I don't know. But in my classroom, I was the only one that was chosen from my classroom or whatever. And basically, it was kind of like, oh, you're going to do this extracurricular thing. So you're going to go to this room. And they would get rid of all the students in that room. But that teacher would be the one that would be doing our thing. And there was maybe like around eight to 10 other students. We're all kind of the same age. I'd say fourth and fifth grade. And they had like a tape recorder, right? And I hadn't seen a tape recorder before. We were still dealing with 8 tracks and, you know, records kind of a thing. And so it was a weird tape machine, and it had these tapes things that he would stick in, and they had a story on them. And it was like a book on tape before books on tape, right? So basically we sit in this room and we do nothing, and we could draw or we could read or we could do our homework or we could do whatever we wanted. And the teacher of that room would put the tape in, and we would just listen to the tape, right? And it was like a book on tape. It was like a fictional piece that talked about the future of this planet and how people lived and what happened. It never really said how exactly the planet got to look, but it was almost like this tape, and the way the guy talked on it as a story, like reading it from a book, kind of a story. It imprinted the images of what this world looked like, but there was never a discussion about how the world was created this way. Didn't say nuclear major fallout, nuclear war. Didn't say 5G. Didn't say GMOs, Monsanto's. It didn't say but there was multiple things that happened that created the planet in the story of the Red Plague. And I'm going to call it more than a story. It was an implant and program. Right? So, and you never know about these things. I mean, my dad, they could have, hypnotized him or something, or sent a program saying, you need to move your family to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And then, he wakes up one morning and goes, we're moving to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Right? And then, it looks like things are made easy for them, but it's not maintainable, because once all the stuff needs to be done that's done, then, it's kind of over with. All right. So, so I'm going to call it a program or application that was downloaded into me. And I feel, this is how I feel about it, and this is what I know about it, is that because I was way different, they could get this program in me and then say 8 of us, 10 of us run this program for the whole planet, which is the demise of the planet from multiple things. And this is where the emotion comes in and the heartbreak, because that would be the last thing I would ever want to happen or want to see. Right? So every time that the planet gets more infected, the heavier my heart is, and the harder that I'm trying to work on fixing this programming. So it's emotional for me. So that's why I'm going to try to work on the ceremony, because I need help. Right? we need help to deactivate this programming and stop it. Okay, so this red plague thing was, that's what it was called. It was called the red plague. And I don't know, it went on for maybe a couple months. So 2 days a week, I would go to this room with these other people, and nobody ever really talked, and nobody really ever said anything. And I would just ditto sometimes or read or whatever, and then have to listen to the story, right? It's a story. Download. And it came with a lot of visualizations. And the biggest visualization that I remember is that in the future, people would live in glass houses. So if you had money, you literally could have glass built around your whole family. You stayed your whole life in there. You grew your food in there, and you lived in there, and all the other people were outside, right? And poor and had festering sores because the red plague was the disaster to the planet, but through it plagued people with all kinds of illnesses. And looking at it now from my adult standpoint, I think there's a lot of factors that were involved in creating the red plague, or like coming into this timeline, right? That they're using people to help play out these programs in order to help the system to move it forward. Key players, right? Power generators. And so there was definitely nuclear fallout. There wasn't anything left alive. Lots of dirt and rocks. I mean, even where there were supposed to be trees, there weren't trees anymore. Didn't see ever any water in this story and download. Water was gone. It was hot. And you couldn't allow yourself to be outside of the glass to breathe that stuff in, because you would become infected with radiation, or there were plagues, human plagues, and starvation and just death. And so in the download, I could see the people on the outside walking by, and in some cases, like literally putting their hands on the glass, looking at the people on the inside to save them. And they couldn't do it. They didn't want to do it either, because the people inside the glass were the takers, took everything. So when I was little, I thought, well, maybe, money is the whole picture here, because if you have enough money, then you can get yourself a glass house and you're protected. So they also started to implant a whole, survival process too, in that coding. And now what I've come to learn, is that we just don't want to live in that kind of a plane of existence, and we don't want to create it. And so we need to start working together. And so this is one of the things that's developed over time for me, where I go and clean up the garbage at the rivers and walk into the rivers and pull the garbage out and, get it up and get it out of the water, because we need the water to work with us again. We need to raise its vibration. So we need to take care of it, and we need to be its friend, and we need to learn from it. And the same thing with homeless people, take them food, take them extra food that I have, periodically we'll pull together a whole bunch of, resources that people donate, and then try to get things for them, tarps, whatever else. And for Christmas, I did a huge thing and had friends of mine that helped me. And, one person made, 2 huge hams for them for the Christmas Eve dinner. We served them right on the river with Food Not Bombs. And I had boxes and boxes of stuff. And there was 20 tarps that were donated, and, all kinds of stuff. Because I really feel like in order to heal suffering, you have to go to where that suffering is, and you have to take care of it. So this is a lot of, I do a lot of work energetically, but more now in my life as an adult, I do more physically. I go to the place. I touch it, I feel it, I smell it, I look at it, right? And I participate with it, right? And I do whatever I can do. And sometimes, yes, it is frustrating, but I come back into balance and I just focus. I focus on the task at hand. So, this red plague thing, I don't know what else to tell about it. But it's bad. And I haven't met other people, that have had the red plague programming. And I'm not sure if they knew that they had it or if they remembered it or, anything like that. But I've never forgotten it. And as I've gotten older and learned more about the handling and all this other stuff, I've realized I was directly used for a program that is helping to destroy the whole earth. And so that's why I'm an environmental nut job and about 5G and crazy about Monsanto's and crazy about soil restoration and microbial mass and crazy about this whole nuclear thing and, all of these things. And our energies are helping, I feel like sometimes that my programming with the red plague, because I can't seem to get to the bottom of it. And maybe, I think about maybe it brings me to a point now, maybe that red plague programming actually maybe in some cases worked the opposite because it's made me become an extreme advocate in my life to take care of living things, and restore them and heal them and fix them. And that now it's coming to you. And then once I get the ceremony together and written, then you can help me, right? Not be under me, not, but be as an equal, that we are working together. You don't have to do the ceremony exact, whatever your feelings are that lead you to. You might put something else into it that you're doing. You may add to it. You may minus something. And that is purely up to you. But I'm just doing my work and my job and putting some medicine together that we can utilize together to transform in an energetic way. And because it's a massive, massive workload, I need other people to start helping me because I don't think that I can do it by myself and survive. I think that if I start to attempt, I open that up and I start to move into there by myself, that it's so massive of the amount of work and there's so much darkness and so much stuff going on from all levels that I don't think my body's going to be able to survive it. So, if you should take on this mission, but I'm asking for help and I'm asking for big help. And so my part is to get this part done and so that we can really start to engineer a new construct, engineer and assemble a new construct that is good and in a good way for all living beings, right? And so we can detour and through this break down the illusion, right? And get the creator back involved because you know what we're moving into here. We're going to start opening the energy to be co-creators, right? We're going to be co-creators in the healing and the restoration and of this world. So that's it. So that's the red plague, and I would really like to be able to, because I don't know other people that have it, so I can't really look into their aspect of it and heal them from it, which helps to, break the program, right? And so I need help with us just not fighting, but moving forward and assembling our own construct and doing that individually and collectively at the same time, right? And being self-organized, which means we take care of ours part and manage it on whatever capacity that we want to do that, right? That we want to do it. So that's it. So I'm not trying to be a guru. I'm not trying to be God. I'm not trying to do any of that stuff. I'm just kind of opening up the window here and seeing if maybe we can come at this whole thing in a whole different way. And I'm working on it and I'm doing prayer over it. And I've been kind of working on the outline parts and my 4 parts, but it's still not finished and it's not complete. And it'll be pretty simple once you it'll be super simple. It'll just flow and you'll be able to see how it works. And it's a program that I've been working on with maybe since, I don't know, maybe like June. And it happened. I saw it in a dream. And I did it in the dream, right? And then now I think it's kind of morphing into something that we can also do just in our minds. And all people, and this is the thing, is what the spirits said was that the ancestors said, our grandmothers and grandfathers or whatever, but the message was we all. So it has to be designed in a way that even if a person can't totally physically move their body at all, that they can see it in their mind and they can participate with it in their mind. And so it's about all. They said that it should be designed in a way that all can participate if they choose to. And this is all based on your choice. And this is not a fixed thing. It's a starting point, right? For you to develop your own work or decide, how you want to do it. Okay? All right, so that's it. I have radio in like 25 minutes, so I have to go. And but I just want to say thank you in advance, and I really, really, in a good way, want to get this shifted so that we can start the restoration process of our current home world. And the home world that we're going to have to leave our children on. And, I'm not a mother, but I think about all the animals. So wrong. So against the laws that govern this planet to spray chemicals that are suffocating and killing the animals, right? Or giving them diseases, or radiation and Wi-Fi, where we put up these towers that no birds can live in because the radiation is so extreme. And so we take away their homes and we kill them. I mean, that's bad juju. That is some bad, if people want to call it karma, and that we're allowing it. I mean, that's bad karma. Bad. If you believe in karma, that is like the worst possible karma. Because you're involved in the murder of millions of beings, right? Whether you get it or not. So taking care of the earth is, the restoration and the repentance for what we've been involved in and what we've allowed ourselves to be involved in, kind of a thing. Okay, Bridget Dolgoff, thank you so much for listening, and for my special people out there. And that I love, and I know that you guys will help to support this. Thank you, and thank you. All right, Bridget Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics, Urban Farm Project, coming from the shed.